She just has this total different view of where the Sussexes are at. No doubt she saw the BBC interview. Well, you would imagine she'd seen the BBC interview.
Imagine extending a royal invitation, literally, and being left on red. That's exactly what happened when Meghan Markle tried to rally A-listers for her podcast. Not only were her carefully crafted invitations ignored, but the silence from Hollywood's elite was louder than any PR pitch she could spin. Today, we're diving into the dramatic, suspiciously quiet world of who ghosted Meghan's podcast, and why. And trust us, this tale isn't just about bruised egos and unanswered DMs. There's a suspenseful undercurrent that has all the elements of a mystery thriller: betrayal, image control, and whispered warnings among the stars.
When you're on a plane, and I remember like back in the day, you'd sit next to a stranger and sometimes you'd feel more comfortable telling your life story to a complete stranger.
Let's rewind. Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, actress turned royal turned podcaster, launched her podcast with the ambition of rewriting the narrative. Spotify handed her a $20 million deal for her show Archetypes, aimed at dismantling stereotypes surrounding women. But here's the twist. It became less about tackling social issues and more about, well, Meghan. At least that's what some of Hollywood's top talents seem to believe, because many of them simply never responded to her calls.
It's so full of adjectives. It was inspiring, they're enchanting, this is amazing. The way these two women...
The New York Post broke the story that Meghan was left hanging by several high-profile celebrities. According to inside sources, a long list of A-listers were pitched but never replied or quietly declined. Among them, names you'd never expect to ignore royalty. The ghost list reportedly includes Taylor Swift, Reese Witherspoon, Gwyneth Paltrow, who eventually appeared but was hesitant, Charlize Theron, Cate Blanchett. But this wasn't just snubbing, it was calculated silence. And the Hollywood rumor mill began churning with a single burning question. Why were they avoiding her? Let's be real, this wasn't just about scheduling conflicts. An entertainment exec told the Daily Mail, "People are scared. Not of Meghan, but of being used." That cryptic comment turned heads.
This moment was so influential for me because she turned around and she goes, "Hi, sweetheart, what's your name?" First thing I learned.
Insiders whispered that Meghan's style of interviewing felt more like self-promotion disguised as conversation. Guests were expected to orbit her narrative, not challenge it. For many celebs, especially women fiercely protective of their brands, that was a red flag. And then came the Jamie Kern-Lima podcast episode, the vulnerable moment that was supposed to revive Meghan's public image. Instead, it sparked fresh skepticism. Jamie, founder of IT Cosmetics and a well-respected figure in the business world, hosted Meghan for what was marketed as an unfiltered, raw conversation. No glam squad, no handlers, just the real Meghan.
They can have a secure marriage for the future. Look, I don't like to speculate on anybody's marriage, but you can't see two interviews back to back like this.
But the internet wasn't convinced. Social media exploded with different posts. Meghan's crying with no tears. Again, this ain't vulnerability, this is marketing. Flawless lighting, soft filters, perfect hair. This isn't stripped down, it's a Vogue shoot with sniffles. Candace Owens went full throttle, calling the performance a calculated stunt. She said Meghan's cries for authenticity were exhausting and labelled her a pathological liar who couldn't even act like herself anymore. Owens' brutal takedown echoed sentiments from a growing segment of the public, and apparently a few A-listers.
The most important thing that I work on every day, my practice, is trying to really integrate it, to integrate the joy, to integrate, like we say, like...
Behind the scenes, whispers from Meghan's own former staff and PR reps painted a grim picture. According to multiple reports, Meghan personally reached out to some guests. Many never responded. Spotify executives were frustrated with the production delays and lack of organic engagement. Archerwell's podcast division struggled to book guests, relying heavily on mutual favours and Sussex name recognition rather than meaningful connections.
You've got Meghan, who's trying to push this completely different brand of happy families and, let's all hold hands. And
An insider told Page Six, Meghan's podcast wasn't about the guests. It was about her reaction to them. That doesn't work with every celeb, especially not the ones who built their careers on authenticity. Even the ones who did show up, like Mindy Kaling and Serena Williams, found themselves in awkward territory. Listeners noticed how Meghan would pivot the conversation back to her own experiences, often cutting off her guests' momentum.
Oh my gosh. And then people that I reconnect with all these years later who literally can go, but you're the same.
Reddit threads lit up, with one user writing, Mindy Kaling opens up about dating struggles and Meghan says, I know, I was the smart girl too. It's not a therapy session, it's a podcast. Here's where the mystery thickens. Insiders began suggesting something even more unnerving. That declining Meghan's invitation wasn't just about bad PR. It was about fear.
Why did you say hi? You're about to go on mommy.
So busy with the current situation, thanks to another amazing friend.
Some feared that any misstep or disagreement could be reframed through Meghan's media empire. Remember, this is someone who sat across from Oprah and dropped nuclear-level revelations about the royal family. Stars asked themselves, if she'd go that far with her in-laws, what would she do to a fellow celeb who upset her narrative? One Hollywood agent was quoted in The Telegraph saying, if a celebrity refused or disagreed, there was always the fear it could come back to haunt them, subtly or publicly. And then there's the Spotify breakup. In June 2023, Spotify and Meghan's Archewell Audio mutually parted ways. While both sides painted it as an amicable split, internal leaks told a different story.
Oh, I've got
Storage
damn
wars
memories.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, I look like a Costco or something. There's just boxes.
Bill Simmons, Spotify's head of podcast innovation, didn't mince words. The grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched. The audio giant allegedly paid millions for one season and walked away disappointed. That public jab signaled the end of the podcast fairy tale, and maybe the final nail in the coffin for celebrity interest. Back to the Jamie Kern-Lima episode, the one where Meghan supposedly cried on air. Critics zoomed in and found no tears. None. Just strategically timed sniffles and perfectly dabbed tissues.
How to make a pasta more special, and you would see plating. You would see someone drizzle the olive oil on top. And somehow it elevated it beyond what I thought were...
Social media detectives posted comparisons of real tear patterns versus Meghan's dry-eyed performance. It was amateur sleuthing at its finest, and ruthless. She's wearing a $700 cream blouse, a $10,000 necklace, and somehow the lighting is flawless. But we're supposed to believe this was a spontaneous moment. Add to that, Meghan reading a heartfelt letter to her children while dramatically holding back tears. Except the emotion felt rehearsed, not real. As one user put it, if this was an audition, she wouldn't get the part.
I actually find it really sad watching that because Harry's so hopeful. He wants so much from this freedom flight.
With Spotify gone and Netflix scaling back, Meghan is pivoting to lifestyle branding and social platforms. There's talk of a cooking show, a homeware line, and even another docu-series. But without the Hollywood support she once counted on, she's finding herself increasingly isolated. Reese Witherspoon, once rumoured to be a potential guest, reportedly politely declined and has kept a noticeable distance. Charlize Theron was approached twice, and both times ghosted.
I hope she says, I know that they'll feel like, oh my gosh, no one has ever loved someone more than the way...
Even Beyoncé, who once sent Meghan a note of support, is keeping things strictly cordial. The glittering names are stepping back, and Meghan's address book is getting colder. The bigger mystery isn't who ghosted Meghan, but what she'll do next. Will she double down and claim sabotage? Will she rebrand again, this time as a truth teller rejected for her bravery? Or will she fade into selective appearances and Instagram stories, always hinting at a comeback? Either way, the silence from her peers says everything.
I think we've always thought that things were a little bit out of kilter with the Sussexes, but it appears that Harry is really struggling with where he's at and where he fits in.
Meghan may have tried to control the narrative, but when Hollywood whispers, "No thanks," it doesn't shout. It disappears. Quietly, strategically, completely. So here we are, folks. Meghan's podcast journey began with royal ambition and ended in royal rejection. A-list stars ghosted her. Spotify pulled the plug. And even emotional vulnerability couldn't save the day. Not when audiences and celebrities alike are asking the same question. Is this real or just another performance?
I don't want to buy the stuff, but I also don't have time to make all the stuff. So where's the hybrid? Where's the piece that as a mom or as a friend or as a spouse?
What do you think? Was Meghan genuinely trying to connect? Or was it a thinly veiled strategy to stay relevant? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which celebrity's silence shocked you the most? Do you think Meghan's public image is salvageable? Or has the curtain finally closed? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more juicy celebrity tea, behind-the-scenes drama, and unfiltered updates that Hollywood definitely doesn't want you to hear. Till next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay tuned.